Hello everyone. In this video, we're picking out and sharing the latest topics about Asia. From one of the most famous Reddit-style forums in Japan. Even if you don't understand Japanese, we've translated everything into English subtitles and audio. So you can join the conversation as if you were in Japan. So, let's dive into the discussions happening in Japan. China unveiled the CR450, their next-generation high-speed rail model. In Beijing on the 29th, the new train is expected to operate at 400 km per hour, making it the fastest in the world. The state-owned railway company's project made the new train about 10% lighter than the current models, shortened braking distance, and improved cabin quietness. At the end of 2023, the total length of China's high-speed rail network reached about 45,000 kilometers, making it the longest in the world, over 13 times longer than Japan's Shinkansen.
Fastest in the world. But if the safety's not up to par, what's the point? I'm too scared to ride this. They're definitely going to mess up. This seems more thrilling than a roller coaster. Japan hit 530 kilometers per hour back in 1997. The reason they can't introduce it is because the land is too small to make the tracks straight. Isn't that France's record? Some idiot Japanese person gave China the technology. They've far surpassed the tech that was handed over. As long as they can ensure safety. No, they've already caught up with Japan in terms of safety. They test in the real world, not just in labs. Don't underestimate them. Japan only offered high-speed rail technology for domestic use in China. But they broke that promise and started selling it overseas. Honestly, making deals with the Han Chinese is foolish. If it derails, they'll just bury it in the ground. China can't import train wheels from overseas anymore. So this is way too dangerous. They're manufacturing their own now and even started exporting to Germany. It's just an estimate. No one said they'll actually operate at 400 kilometers per hour. Japan's limit of 360 kilometers per hour is apparently because of the vacuum toilets. They've completely surpassed Japan's Shinkansen. Japan already tested over 400 kilometers per hour. But it damages the rails and overhead lines too much. That's why they went with maglev instead. Japan's tech is outdated. China's top speed is 440 kilometers per hour with 400 kilometers per hour operations. Meaning they still have headroom. Japan won't catch up because of tunnels and old standards. Honestly, Chinese designs are getting more refined. Japan's totally lost in terms of design. Trains shouldn't look cool if they prioritize function. But since China ignores environmental impact, they can go all in on aesthetics. Both China and South Korea have state-owned railways, so they can operate recklessly and rack up insane debt. At some point, they'll start comparing the fatality rate to airplanes. China's high-speed rail stations are super far from city centers and inconvenient. It's almost like going to the airport. So they need to think about competition with planes. Xi Jinping should ride it every day. How do you maintain 45,000 kilometers of track daily? No matter how much they reduce the weight, the massive heavy motors will eventually warp the tracks. China's probably thinking, what are these people from a dying country talking about? That's how they see Japanese people now. This is all because Junior and Kawasaki Heavy Industries gave China Shinkansen tech. A country that can ignore costs is unbeatable. Japan doesn't need to compete in tech development anymore. As part of Asia, losing to China isn't really a loss. If our family members China thrive, we should feel proud. All Japan can do now is sit back and hope China fails. Can't underestimate them anymore. Their rail network is 13 times longer. This kind of tech improves with operation. Japan is a country that only subtracts it's getting dangerous. Japan's tech is zero risk, so the safety margin is huge. If they're operating at 300 kilometers per hour, they could probably push to 450 kilometers per hour. Just lure Japanese engineers over to China by offering 5 times their salary. There's no future in Japan anyway, so better to make money in China. Hacked tech? They don't even need to steal it. Just use bribes and honey traps on Japanese people. As a poor guy, I'll probably never go to China or ride it. So I couldn't care less. China's apparently already surpassed the US in purchasing power. They might really reclaim the top spot in the world. Japan can't compete with China in manufacturing anymore. We need to outdo them in consumption instead. Chinese people still don't trust their own products. But now that the economy's bad, and they can't afford imports, they've started using domestic products out of necessity. They can crank up the speed, because they don't need to worry about noise complaints along the tracks. Anyone who complains just disappears. The scary part is that's not even a joke. Japan should seriously let China absorb it. This country is done. We'd have a better future under China. This feels exactly like when South Korean companies started taking market share in electronics. Give it a few years, and Japan will definitely be left behind by China. They're not even copying Japan anymore. We're losing in everything. They use Chinese-made parts. The faster they go, the quicker they wear out. I wonder how China handles maintenance. They might build decent stuff, but they don't really have the concept of upkeep. Chinese people care too much about appearances and leave the important parts for later. Their skyscrapers look nice, but the construction quality is terrible. Once you step inside, the AC units in Chinese skyscrapers are awful. They hide them in places that look nice. But when it's time to replace them, it's high-altitude work. Japan doesn't value the technology it builds. Engineers are paid peanuts, and we just hand over valuable tech for free. Management must think technology is worthless. Japanese people tap the bridge and still don't cross. Chinese people cross the bridge first and then test it. No wonder they keep advancing. The party doesn't care about the people. They're just tools for national development. At some point, trains will hit 500 kilometers per hour, and maglev will become obsolete. They're expanding high-speed rail, but it's all in the red. They've entered the phase where it's just about saving face. I'm worried if the train can actually stop properly. Started in 2018 and launching by 2025. In Japan, that would take 30 years and get scrapped halfway. Japan was like that during the early Shinkansen days. Over 120 people died during construction. Unthinkable now. Japan freaked out about American ships and British trains back in the day, copying them desperately. Laughing at and underestimating China will be Japan's downfall. We're already halfway there. Speed is easy. Let's stop with the dumb flexing.
Did you find this video interesting? We'll keep bringing you fun topics from Japan's online community. Please subscribe to the channel and drop some comments.